That's because most of the time we're talking about stuff to do, especially with the religion.
Yeah, which is
with the religion. You've got a lot of
I
facts.
don't.
There's no opinions when it comes to religion.
I don't.
I might go in now. Carry on.
What's the topic?
Go on. Carry on talking.
I feel like I can just generalize this anyway. I feel like if you're gonna watch this podcast, and if you're gonna watch podcasts in general, you can't watch podcasts to agree with everything the people to agree with everything they're saying. And this is the point. Like, at some point, I feel like people just in general need to start challenging themselves, and rather than hearing an opinion that you don't agree with and getting annoyed about and saying, I'm never going to watch these people again, try and understand it. Even if you don't understand it, ask questions, see why people think the way that they think.
Yeah.
There's more to life than everyone just agreeing with it. Like, what's the point?
At the end of the day, there's opinions. Yeah. And then there are just like, there's mad people in it. So I think on this podcast, we're opinionated, yeah, cool. But we're not saying mad stuff. I'll never, because at the end of the day, like, okay, maybe sometimes we say mad stuff, but generally, we're not saying mad things.
Yeah.
And there's not, so let's say that the consensus that we come to is rarely from a completely uninformed, crazy place. There's always a basis to it.
Yeah.
And there's always a logic, and there's always a logic to
and
it.
the basis and the logic, well, the basis comes from talking about the religion. And when it comes to talking about the religion, we talk with facts.
I'm not, and even on non-religious, religion-specific issues, which, let's say, those are the times where things may become a bit more opinion-based or whatever. That type of thing, and there may be a bit more debate. The reason I would say I disagreed with the thing about no one's forcing you to watch is because if you can't sit down and hear what we say and be able to at least process it or understand it, or take it in, work it out, think on it, ponder on it a little bit, if it burns you so much, then I think actually there's probably a bit of an issue with you, because 100%. We're not saying madness. If we're saying madness and we're coming to mad conclusions, cool, but it's not. So if there's an issue, then I think you should, not that there's an issue with you, because that's not what it means. It just means that I think that you're possibly being a bit, internalizing things a bit too much and taking it as a bit too personal.
And that's not just in reference to this podcast alone. That's just with anything in general. Everyone has a method to the way that they think. The same way you have a method as a viewer, as to the way you think of things, the person you're listening to has a method as well. Try and understand it. It's not just all about you. It's not just in reference. It's with anything. It's with any podcast in general. You're not gonna sit down and watch a podcast and tell me you're gonna agree with everything that everyone on the podcast says. Because what are you watching it for? To just agree?
Me, Abdul Malik, is telling everybody who's out there, as my advice, personal advice, if I'm qualified to give whatever, my advice to anybody listening, is that if you are so triggered and there's not, psychological, traumatic, those type of reasons why you might be react badly to what we say, if we park those to the side, if you take such offense to the things that we're saying, most of which, and this is me speaking purely about myself, it's rare that I'll say something that's not qualified with something, then boy, I don't know. Then that means you're somebody that maybe
it's a personal issue.
You're somebody just wants to, maybe you just want to live in an echo. You just want to live in an echo chamber and just hear your thoughts posted back at you all the time. Because I'll listen to the people's thoughts, and same with me. For example, I get annoyed at people talking rubbish. But I firstly will listen, and the only time I'll be turned off by what people say is when it has no basis, or when it's so unqualified, when people are just talking absolute nonsense. And me, once again, speaking for myself purely only, I make a point of never saying something that's not qualified by something, because it's just not in my nature, because I'm just not somebody who talks rubbish. Like, that's just not what I do. And I think critically. That's just what I do in it. That's how I try to be anyway. So if I'm not doing that and you can point to an occasion where I'm not, fair enough, then that's that. But to say that, no, I don't know. And at the end of the day as well, another thing is, I think nobody should, everything, for me, myself anyway, thanks bro, anything I say, generally, I would always say I'm coming from a place, actual genuine place of care for who I'm talking about. There's nobody in this Muslim community, brothers, sisters, Arabs, Asians, whites, that I don't have a love for.
Yeah.
So every time I'm speaking, it's for a good. It's never to bring about any bad, because what's the point? Why would I do that as a Muslim, come here and try to inflict harm on the people? Of course not. It's all from a place of good. So when you combine those two things, this person's actually saying something that I think is measured, or you might not think is measured, but this person is saying something that is factually measured or qualified in some way, not coming from a place of ignorance and coming from a place of love, to say that I don't get it. That to me. But obviously that's just my opinion, and obviously I'm going to defend myself. But yeah.
That's just to listen to.
Yeah, but the thing is, like I'll never, if I can never hear a woman, and this is just real. I've never heard a woman say something, or sister say something that is a reflection on, that is a qualified statement, that is there as an opinion, even if I don't agree with it. I thought that they were mad because they're saying it. Because there's an understanding from. I'm saying maybe it's because they're hearing it from brothers. I don't want to enforce. I don't want to give any credence to the fact that you hearing something and not liking it because of who it's coming from is an issue, and that I'm not gonna enable that to me. For me, if you hear men say speaking, and you, because it's coming from men, you don't like that, you don't like it. Then sort yourself out. because sort yourself out, because I'm not saying go and listen to women, because that means what we're saying is that means if I'm telling you, okay, go and listen to women, that means I'm telling you, Abdul Malik, you have my permission, for want of a better word. Abdul Malik is giving you his permission to never listen to the opinion of men because it's coming from men, and you should go to women. So I'll never. That's not what I'm saying. I'll never tell somebody, okay, just go and listen to something. No, because at the end of the day, for example, let's go back to that protesting example, because it's the one that's been mentioned. I don't know if it was protest. I can't remember what it was. Let's use that as a generic example here. Somebody has come to. I've sat down. I've opened up a book I've opened up a book of I don't know. I've opened up a book of hadith, for example. Yeah, so I've opened up Bukhari book one, and I've read it to you on the camera, and I've read the commentary and the rulings and the hukum that have come from it, and the conclusion has been derived, and then I've closed the book and I've said salallahu alaikum, and then somebody can say, nah man, I don't like the way you spoke about that, because so what, I have two options, and fair enough, that's not how we did it, we didn't, but at the end of the day, the conclusions that we gave and the rulings that we gave were based on the same, or based on some sort of original, even if there's difference or whatever, cool. If somebody's gonna say, I don't like the way you spoke about that, and I'm gonna say, okay, there's no one's got go and listen to something else. As if I'm gonna sit here and try to not advise, but advise people, then I have to stand by what I'm saying. I can't just say, okay, because what's the point of us doing it then? That means you're just giving lip service. You have to back what you're saying. So I'm not going to tell you to, because that saying no one's forced to watch is basically saying, okay, don't watch. Which I don't agree with. Okay. But anyways, so assalamu alaikum. After that, how long was that?
10-15 minutes.
I know. Anyways, a little uncut.
Yeah. It wasn't
uncut judge.
Some of it's going to be
what's it called? Assalamu alaikum, man. Welcome back to Jollof after Jummah, episode 42. We hope you're all doing well and you're all still with us. Maybe after last week, maybe this episode will only get maybe 5 views. I don't know. Maybe if our YouTube channel is still up, if we haven't been taken in for questioning by the whatever MI5 and alhamdulillah though. What are you man saying? How you doing?
Alhamdulillah.
How's your obviously we kind of touched on it, but how was your, I know we all said we didn't watch back the last episode, and obviously we kind of had to wrap up quite quickly at the end, so I don't think there was much time for reflection on what was actually said. So based on obviously you've watched back the whole thing for your purpose, and obviously you was there, I was there as well. What's your kind of reflection on the message and how it's portrayed? Like, do you think is there anything that do you think the message was put out exactly how you would want it to be put out, and everything that was touched on was what you'd want to be touched on, and nothing was missed?
Sitting here and recording
Yeah.
the episode and then seeing people's reactions to it was a little bit different.
Go on.
I didn't think, when we were sitting here recording it,
Yeah.
I didn't think that we said anything mad triggering or mad inflammatory. But then when we dropped it in the group chat and the man then was saying like, bro, like,
Yeah, but the title, you chose violence with that title as well. Don't look at me because I didn't suggest that title. And I confirmed this. I went to Mrs. I was like, I saw the title. I don't know. I was like, bro, Hibbs has gone a bit mad.
I swear that's what you said.
No.
You didn't.
I said, go to the chat. I said, PSA, something. Like, read it. I want you to read it because my suggestion on what you wrote was different.
Hold on.
Find it.
Oh.
So what was my suggestions? I want you to read my 2 suggestions for the title.
Your 2 suggestions were PSA, get your husband before it's too late. And
See, that's light, isn't it? That's a lot lighter. And what was the second one?
I completely, sisters don't waste your youth.
Yeah, I might have to edit that one out.
I completely forgot. I genuinely thought that's what you said.
You just went bare raggle.
I genuinely thought that's what you said. I completely forgot.
But yeah, the reactions, to be fair, we've mainly heard the reactions, obviously, from Mandem. And obviously, inshallah, because obviously we're only recording this 2 days or less than 48 hours after the last episode came out. So we haven't really hasn't had time to marinate yet. But what was I going to say? Yeah, the Mandem, fair enough, there was an initial shock. And obviously, the title made people think, "Rah, like, let me tune into this one." As you can see, that the spike in the first 2 days has been the biggest spike for a while. I think though that there's no suggestion that what we said was in any way mad.
100.
Or there's only limited accounts of suggestions that what we said is bare inflammatory or
condescending
or mad from the Mandem, and I think. That doesn't surprise me.
No.
I do think there was I think the thing that would be triggering, and it's good that we probably didn't touch on this more, and there was just a suggestion, like the comment that we had, the comment that's there, that talking about, people in the situation currently, I do think that would have been a bit more triggering, and a bit more, which, and I didn't want to do that, and there was a reason I didn't want to do that, because to me that's like a personal attack on people, innit?
Yeah.
Whereas talking about something that could come in the future, obviously, is a bit lighter.
Fair enough.
But
at the end of the day, we welcome your comments, your feedback. DM us, email us if you think there's anything.
There's
anything that we said wrong.
I've never been so genuinely
intrigued, honestly,
in hearing thoughts, because to me, and it's easy for me because I have limited emotional attachment to the situation.
Yeah,
because it doesn't. At the end of the day, right now, it doesn't affect me. 100%. It affects both my sisters are married. I haven't got any daughters, and and I'm a boy, and I'm married. Yeah. So it doesn't affect me. And which is why I feel that my opinion is the opinion. Our opinion should be listened to probably even more because it's external. It's purely observational.
Yes.
All it was exactly.
Yeah,
so it wasn't. I don't even think it was in the podcast of there were opinions as about the reasoning but it was on the whole an observational episode. If you ask me, I don't know if you agree. I think it was an observation.
I think maybe,
which is why it might be said as, for example, one of the comments was quite simplistic, and it wasn't meant to be complicated. It wasn't meant to be like some. Like, when we did sexualization of the job, and I was like, there's a history of, them taking the French people when they took over, and there's, theories about why things happen and deeper things going on. Yeah. To me, this is not one of those type of situations. No. This is clearly the maths isn't mathsing for one part of the community. And boy, if you have 10 cups of water and enough water for 5 cups of water, then if you're thirsty, go and drink. because the water, that's basically it. But I don't know.
What I was saying before, that it's I guess the kind of the way that the episode was spoken about in certain topics, it was generic because it was a matter of fact, and there's no reason to be necessarily specific because, like, if we think of it, if we describe it as, let's say, a marketplace, that's the way the marketplace is moving, and that's just a matter of fact. So in that sense, you have to be generic and just say, if it's moving this way, you have to follow it. Otherwise, you'll get left behind. And it's that simple. It's unfortunate, but it just is that simple. And I think that's a really good point. I actually didn't think about that. Four married brothers sitting here talking about that kind of topic is even more reason for you to listen to it, because we have no stake in the game, innit? So if it's 4 people that have no stake and are kind of emotionally removed, that's probably more of an opinion that you should listen to rather than someone that's maybe invested because they're still looking. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, each their own. I think maybe some people were more invested than others for reasons we won't mention. But yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, inshallah, about to go. It's never too late. Obviously, this is going to come out a week later, but it's never too late. I want to hear, and there might be reasons we just completely didn't think about, didn't touch on. Which is I'm interested in hearing, because I can only talk. I only have one brain, the one in my head, and the mouth only can say what the brain thinks.
Honestly,
so
please comment or email or DM, please.
I forgot to add to my solutions last week when I was talking about brothers getting to know brothers for the sake of marrying one siblings or sisters or whatever off. One thing I was gonna say but I forgot to say was polygamy. At the end of the day, we all like to write polygamy off and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if there's a brother that is already married, he can afford to maintain.
That's fine. It's fine.
If there's a brother that can afford to maintain more than one wife, and he's a sound brother, but all it is that he's married already, and he's got the means, financially, mentally, everything to maintain another wife, and he doesn't mind marrying a second wife, I would suggest my daughter to him. Someone messaged me and said, would you suggest your daughter to marry a second wife? I think this was after the message because he said something.
You know me and group chats.
He said something along the lines of, should I just read it?
I don't mind. Cool.
Context. Second of all, it is big in their eyes that we should be matching based on tribalism. I don't want to see anything about no polygamy from your mouth if people / stats are saying that they are the bottom of the barrel, and in quotations, bottom of the barrel.
What Tao was saying about black women being the most undesirable based on stats. So the brother that basically said that is basically saying, if you're already the least undesirable, then you shouldn't be saying no to polygamy.
No, not that you shouldn't be saying no to polygamy as a person, but as a society, we shouldn't be ruling out polygamy.
Oh, okay. So, okay, my bad.
Okay.
I don't think in last week's episode, we necessarily wrote off polygamy. I remember
because that sounds like a response to somebody who said you shouldn't.
No one wrote off polygamy.
Yeah. No, I remember.
I think what he basically said was that, I guess it's just not something that I would say, maybe for lack of a better term, is widely practiced at the moment or in the West.
Yeah.
Like, no one's talking about the West. We're talking about...
Yeah, but we're talking about...
We're talking about as a society. Yeah, it's polygamy at the moment isn't widely practiced for whatever reason. That's the point I'm making.
That's the only point that was made last week.
It's not that it's not widely practiced. Of course, it's not widely practiced in comparison to the general population of Muslims in the West or in the UK.
Yeah.
But it's still practiced. And
yes,
again, there's a lot of people that maybe shun it because of their own opinions or whatever, and there's a lot of people that shun it because of the stigma that comes with it, or
for a variety of reasons, which we'll get into on the episode when he comes.
And this kind of it basically, a brother messaged me and said, "What would you give your daughter to a polygamous marriage if she was at a stage in life where she was looking to get married, and the currency, the brothers out here were just rubbish because all the good brothers are married already. And I was like, yeah, of course I would.
Yeah,
Even if it doesn't even.
I think the very fact that someone had asked the question says a little bit about how it's looked at, basically. The very fact that someone even asked the question.
I mean,
if you get what I'm saying.
At the end of the day, people do practice it correctly.
Yeah.
I feel like we're having a...
This is an example that was set for us from the Prophet and the Sahaba, alaihi salatu wasallam. There is a way to practice it correctly. Obviously, it's very difficult, especially in today's society. Yeah. Especially when it comes to finance, and people focus too much on finances. Yes, finances are big. And when I say people focus too much on finances, people make it the main thing as if you've got money, you can do it. Not as, oh, you need to get money to do it. People think, okay, if you got money, you can do polygamy. No, that's not the case, because there's many other levels to it. Money's not everything. Just because you got money doesn't mean mentally
you're able to handle.
You're able to handle more than one wife. In regards to time, you're able to handle more than one wife. No, it's not everything. What was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say.
But in terms of, I don't want to go too deep in it because I want certain people to be here when we do that. But in terms of as a solution, obviously we didn't, as you said, it wasn't discussed as a solution. But nobody.
For me, I think it's a possible solution.
No, I know. I'm not saying. I'm saying we didn't discuss it on the day.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a solution. I'm saying we didn't discuss it on the day. But that message, when I read it, it sounded like it was responded to somebody who said it's not a solution, which nobody.
I think I know what he was talking about.
Because on the only mention of it was a mention that it's not a widely practiced thing currently, which is just.
No, I think what was said was that it's not in the West or something like that. It's not something that is viable, or it's not something that is practical, which is
no one said that.
No, he didn't say that.
Okay.
He didn't say that still.
Okay.
He was talking about how much is done.
Yeah, it was literally that it's not widely practiced. That's all he said.
It wasn't an opinion based statement. It was just an observation.
Okay, maybe I think of another time.
But yeah, should we move on from?
Yes.
Cool. What's going on in the world? Bill Cosby's free.
How long has it been free for now? It's been a while now.
Yeah, but I wanted to touch on that.
Why?
Briefly. Do you know why? Because obviously, did you see how he got free?
No.
You know, like looking at me like, what are you doing?
Sorry,
I'm confused. Go on.
I'm still thinking about polygamy. Just to go back to that quickly. Sorry.
Yeah.
The reason, because I don't think I stated the reason why I think it's a solution. It's not fair for me to just say, oh, it's a solution, whatnot. The reason why I say it's a solution because polygamy in general was brought forward because there's a lot of, even back in the day of the Salaf, there was a lot of women that didn't have male figures around, didn't have husbands, didn't have whatnot. Like even Umar radiallahu anhu used to go around taking care of all those women whose husbands went to war, or the widows whose husbands passed away. There's a lot of single women about. Even today, there's a lot of divorcees. You know how hard it is for a woman who's divorced, who has got children, to get married. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I don't see that any different to what we're talking about. What is it? Crisis of spinsterhood. Or whatnot. I don't see that different to us saying. We know that statistically, it's way more difficult for black women to find like their pool is smaller.
Yeah.
Smaller.
Yeah.
So why not, as again, in comparison to women that are divorced, whatnot, blah blah blah, that also find it difficult to get married, why not find polygamy as an option? Like why not, like, again, it comes back to more publicized examples of how polygamy is not to be practiced rather than how polygamy should be practiced. At the end of the day, from my point of view, we don't need to see good examples of polygamy being practiced. We already have examples from the past. We already have. I think we're in a culture in today of examples having to be showed to us in order for us to take inspiration from.
Do you know, it's, I think, and this is, once again, I don't want to go into it because I want to have the conversation
properly.
But I think because of the fact that from the woman's point of view, firstly, it's not an obligation, yeah? Cool. That's the first one. Then
That's the sunnah.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, you don't have to tell me, I know. Yeah, it's not an obligation, yeah. The second thing is the fact that if done incorrectly, chances are, when we're looking at the current day, if done incorrectly, the woman stands to potentially lose a lot more. Cool.
Regards to what?
If a woman is in a polygamous marriage and the man / all parties are not
That's on the man.
fulfilling if all parties are not fulfilling their duties and obligations correctly, so they're kind of mispracticing it. When you look at it like that, and even third, from the fact that it's not seen as, it's got, like you said, the connotations, the negative connotations from external society, wider society, all those three things. From the woman's point of view, in many cases, it's going to be seen as almost like a gamble. That is it worth going into?
Your third point about seeing in society how men who are in polygamous marriages or whatnot are seen as negatively from society. I think men in general.
No, women. I'm talking about women.
Yeah, from their point of view.
Yeah.
In general, that there's a lot of stuff about men that there's a lot of nonsense about men in general, polygamous or not, that is put out there. In regards to your second point, about, what was your second point again? Sorry.
So firstly, the fact that it's not an obligation. Yeah. So in them not doing it, they're not sinning, and that's what I mean by saying it's not an obligation.
In them not doing it, they're not sinning. But there's a brother.
As in puts in simple
there's a brother
terms,
that has got all because this is more. Actually, no, I wouldn't say it's more the case. I'll say it's half and half. But chances are, if a brother's looking to get married, he's of a certain ideology. He's of a certain. He thinks a certain way. He's trying to follow the sunnah to a certain level, or not to a certain level, but he's a certain, and he's already got the capacity to. A man ideally should not be looking to do polygamy if he hasn't got the financial capability to, if he's not already taking care of business with the first wife. And I don't mean financially, I mean just making sure that he's okay.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about a marriage, at the end of the day, what you need to realize is it's still a marriage. You're still going into a marriage. You're going to be as diligent. People are making it seem as, oh, if you're going into a polygamous marriage and you're talking to a brother who's already married, who's looking into polygamy, you're just gonna throw yourself at him. You're not gonna do your diligence. You're not gonna look into whether he can actually afford to maintain a wife. You're not gonna look into if he's actually mentally sound for a second wife. You're going to be doing the same things as if he didn't, whether he had a wife or not.
For me,
and if you don't see that he's right, he's what you want in a husband, you're free to go.
For me, I think you'll start to see it probably become more of a dumb thing when, in general, the standard of like knowledge when it comes to relationships, marriage, all that kind of stuff. When that generally goes up across the board, I think chances are you'll probably see it become more of a dumb thing, because at the current, we can't treat everybody. We can't treat the masses as if the masses are generally people of knowledge, because that's just not how it is. Marriage,
it comes back to marriage. To be able to get married in the first place, you need a certain level of knowledge when it comes to marriage.
You don't need. That's ideally, but no, you don't need it. You don't need to. Everybody get bro.
We're talking about
marriage is not reserved for the knowledgeable. In Islam, that's not the case.
It doesn't matter. I'm saying you
You're
need
saying,
to have a certain.
you're saying you think you should have it and it's good to have
Yes,
it,
not
but
that
not
you
you need, because you don't.
Because if you
No,
don't,
you do, because your marriage is not going to survive
What are
without it.
the pillars of marriage?
if
Where
you
in
don't,
the
if
Quran and
the-
Sunnah
if the
does it
two
say that?
if the two people don't have that level of knowledge, who's going to stop them from getting married? Is someone going to come to them and say no?
No one's saying no one's going to stop them
And
from getting married. But I'm
Islamically-
saying, is
and
that marriage
Islamically-
going to last? No, it's
but
not.
that's not what we're
That's
talking
not
about.
what we're talking about.
That's not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're talking
Islamically,
about.
Islam, what your marriage, the marriage is to maintain lineage,
Yeah.
and have uphold the Muslim family, which is essential to the growth of the ummah. It's to
But there won't be no
protect,
growth
it's to
of the
protect
ummah
yourself.
if you
It's to
don't
protect
learn
yourself.
about the rulings of
but
you don't
Let him land.
it's the zina, and to be fair, those are like when it comes to the crux of why people that, which is why, for example, if you're fearing zina, for example, what does it say? So the marriage can, in a lot of there's a strong opinion that if you're fearing zina, that marriage becomes compulsory on you. It doesn't say marriage becomes compulsory on you upon learning this.
Yeah.
No, bro.
Yeah.
So that's so like when we're talking, I think we have to remember that we're talking about the context of the late. So everything we're saying about, so we're talking in the context of the layman. So everything we're saying about marriage, we can't say it only thinking of a particular type of people. We have to be thinking about the masses, because everything you're saying.
I'm talking about the masses. In order to get married, and for that, listen.
What's the evidence?
Marriage comes with responsibility.
Yeah, but bro, you're saying the way you're phrasing it, and you're probably not doing it on purpose, but you're phrasing what you're saying as if it's obligatory, which it's not. So that's what I'm saying. You what you probably mean
As
is you should to have a
what
good
is-
marriage. You're saying in order to get married, you need to have, but that's basically an obligation, which is not.
Yeah.
Islamically, you don't have to do those things you're saying to have a halal marriage. You don't.
I'm not going to comment on that.
No, you don't.
I'm not sure.
What you're saying is what's best for a
healthy marriage.
a healthy marriage,
Yeah,
and
long-lasting marriage.
a
And
long-lasting marriage.
no one's disputing
And
that.
we're not saying that
No
you're
one's
wrong,
disputing that. Yeah.
but they're not compulsory.
Yeah, they're not
So
compulsory.
therefore we can't say, so therefore when it comes to Abdurrahman and Zainab, who are just out here, they're just normal. They're just, I mean, they went to madrasa. They might not even be practicing.
Yeah.
Cool. But for them, their marriage is still an okay. Let's say they're practicing at the very minimal level. All they're doing is what's obligated. They're praying, they're fast, they're doing their 5 pillars. That's all they're doing, which makes them a Muslim. Yeah, they're doing their 5 pillars. Then they might not be Muslim, and they are able
to get married.
and it's better for them to get married the same way.
Yeah, whether
especially if they're
whether that marriage
at risk of falling into zina or anything like that.
Whether that marriage is going to be great or whether it's going to last is a whole different conversation.
That's a different conversation.
Able to get married.
For me, I'm talking about Islam, like 2 Muslims who are practicing, coming together, getting married.
So should non-practicing Muslims not get married?
I'm not going to say, huh?
Should non-practicing Muslims not get married?
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but
I'm not saying that at all.
You kind of are. You kind of are.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying 2 Muslims who are practicing, who are getting married, like, I'm not going to say it's wajib because I don't know the ruling on it. And it's my fault, to be honest. Like, to be honest, I'll cut it short in it because I shouldn't be talking about what I don't have knowledge on. And it's something I studied before, but it's left my head. But just to round it up so that we round this discussion off, because again, I don't have knowledge on this. Otherwise, I don't want to say it's wajib, but I'm 80% sure that for one to get married, because again, when we're talking about marriage, we're talking about you're setting a foundation. This is why we say you shouldn't be playing music at your walimas and nikah. And like we're talking about setting a foundation. It's just setting a foundation. Foundation. Surely, knowledge comes first. You should be studying about, because how are you gonna get married and you don't know? For example, I think I mentioned the rulings of when it comes to divorce.
Yeah.
When it comes to a bunch of things, like there's a whole book on Kitab al-Nikah.
Yeah.
Surely you should study all of this before getting married. But I'll leave it there. Because,
so that statement is surely you should study these type of things, whatever, before. Yes, cool, yeah. But in
surely,
but what I'm saying is basically,
because if I say now it's wajib, without any
because
evidence,
wajib basically
that's a
means
different-
your
that's a
marriage is not valid.
Yeah. That's a different.
Because
That's a different.
that would
kettle of fish, and I
basically
don't wanna
mean
fall
that how
into
many
doing
marriages. Yeah.
So
Which
I'll
is-
go study up on
cool.
that. Refresh that.
Minor.
Come back again.
Yes.
Right, I'll leave it there.
We're gonna we'll do that one. We've been saying this for months. We'll do that one every time it crops up.
We'll do
Yeah,
it.
don't worry. When man is done with what he needs to do, we'll get man on. What's it called? Yeah, Bill Cosby. So the reason I bring this up here is because obviously he got out of jail, and from what I've read, it seems that he's basically come out of jail on a technicality.
A legend do recommend.
Sorry.
Nothing.
See, and what did you say?
Nothing.
I'm gonna bring it up on the mic anyway, so like I did last week. So you might as well say it again. I know you don't mean it, but go on. Say it.
Did you even hear what I said?
I saw that.
Did you say the legend can recommence or something?
No,
What did you say?
it's a meme. Don't worry.
Oh, okay,
Don't
yeah.
worry.
But
Women, the colorism, these women and these women
well,
did the
to be honest,
colorism.
I said that quietly, but I only said it.
you know we're up
you know what, yeah?
400%. You know we're up 400%.
The only reason I didn't say it quietly because I didn't want it to be heard. The only reason I said I just didn't want I didn't want to change the topic. That's the only reason I said it quietly. I'll say it now. Women started colorism and then they used it to try and get the man them down.
Okay.
I mean that with chest.
Okay.
So
After we do Bill Cosby, we'll tuck into that.
Yeah.
So basically, the point I'm trying to make is so he got out on technicality, innit? So legally, okay, I guess the court was unable to convict him. So legally, technically, he's an innocent, inverted commas, man, innit? But in all senses, he's still very much, because he admitted it. He admitted what he did. So guilty of a lot of the sexual assault charges that were put against him. Innit?
Yeah, he pled guilty.
No, so
was he
basically,
found
he in a civil court proceeding, which is obviously not criminal court, so he can't go to jail. He admitted things that he did under the pretense that it couldn't be used against him in criminal court.
Yeah.
However, the evidence used to convict him in criminal court was that same evidence.
Yeah, so what I'm saying was he found, because being found guilty is different.
So he was found guilty. No, he was found guilty.
So being found guilty means you pled not guilty,
Yeah.
but the courts with evidence or whatever found you guilty.
Exactly. But the evidence upon review was deemed shouldn't have been admissible in court. Because of that, the evidence, without that evidence, there was not enough.
So this is more fault with the lawyers and the legal system.
Exactly.
So he's actually guilty and he's free now.
So he's actually guilty and he's free. Cool. But then there's a lot of free Bill Cosby, like, oh yeah, happy, can't keep the big man down, blah blah blah. So basically the point I'm trying to make is there and based on other things we see as well, do men enable this type of activity from men that are seen as like respectable and respectable, talented? Like, so do we, because we love people, because we, for example, we might love this footballer. We might love this footballer, respect what he does, respect his craft. Do men kind of give other men a pass to do these madnesses by overlooking them?
That's not
Yes.
good, man.
Yes.
That's cheap.
I think
if someone does something wrong and you love them, you see the difference between the right and the wrong that they do. It's like when you get, for example, the analogy I was thinking of is a lot of the we were talking about Salafi last week. A lot of the people that call themselves Salaf, but they say if you don't make tabdi, if you don't boycott someone, that you're not with us. And anything this sheikh does, this is our sheikh, we only take from him, and anything that he says is fact. Anything that he says you don't agree with, if he's wrong with something, he's not wrong. And if you think he's wrong, then I'm gonna boycott you as well, and I'm removing you from the Salafi manhaj.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's almost it's basically the same thing, but that's almost zoomed into the specific aspects of Muslim community, which is true, to be fair, which you do see a lot. Go on then.
Like a cult pattern of behavior.
And there's two different conversations I have there.
Yeah.
I think there's a conversation about whether men in general, whether men in general contribute to like rape culture by not checking their friends. That's one.
Yeah.
And then there's also another conversation to be said about people in high positions and whether we kind of dismiss some of the wrong things that they do because we look at them in a certain way. That makes me think of, what's his name again? You know, remember, what's his name again? I think, was it Ronaldo?
Go on.
There were some rape allegations against him.
Yeah.
He kind of just got brushed to the side.
Brush to the side. Yeah.
Literally just got brushed to the side, and no one even. I don't remember if there was ever kind of like an outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
To that.
Yeah, that's disgusting, bro. That's not loving someone. That's, to be honest, that's idolizing someone.
But at the end of the day, yeah. So say me, for example, the point I'm just basically trying to make is that's the perfect example. So,
That's
Bill
the point I
Cosby,
was trying to make.
like, if you are like technically, really and truly, and this is what I'd like to think, if Bill Cosby came on the TV show, I'd instantly go, ugh, no, turn off. I'm not gonna watch you. If Ronaldo comes on the pitch, or at the football match and Ronaldo comes, I should boo him. I shouldn't celebrate what he does. I should. If Ronaldo scores a mad goal, I shouldn't go, oh man, the sick guy. But do we?
Yeah.
And is our kind of tolerance of these people for what they do allowing them to, like you said, are we contributing to the culture by not shunning them?
I don't know if it's contributing, but what I would just say is it's lessening the severity of the sin, because people are gonna now start to think that it's okay. Not that it's okay, but people are gonna lessen the severity of the blow of the sin.
Do you know what people start doing? I think when people wanna not cancel somebody or not hate somebody, they'll immediately trivialize the thing that they do or start making jokes about it, or make it like, I'm trying to think of an example, but there's examples. Basically trivialize what they've done in order to make that person palatable, to continue to be
I
palatable.
just think the man that you're talking. Sorry,
Go on. Yeah, but should we? So like, what should our reaction be to these things? I guess the Ronaldo is a better example than the Bill Cosby, because Bill Cosby's not relevant really right now.
It's a tough conversation to have, especially if let's use Ronaldo as an example, and we're not sitting here saying that Ronaldo is guilty of these allegations, because at the end of the day, we actually don't know what the outcome of that case was. That's true. So we're not sitting there saying he's guilty, but for argument's sake, let's say that he is guilty.
Can I just quickly do a quick jump in? There's another footballer currently plays, that he's being accused of.
Yeah.
And
Chelsea.
No.
For Chelsea?
No. But basically, this, and I don't really say his name because it's not even confirmed that it says. Yeah. But there's two people. One is not really that rated, and one is rated. And did you see the difference in the reaction of the man them
100.
when one is filth dog, and the other one is but these men are trying to get.
That's what I was just trying to say. It's sheepish and it's hypocrisy. Yeah. Because look at a certain man, they will say, Bill Cosby, he's free him, he's out, blah blah blah. My man, what's his name? My man from, you're gonna cut it out, DVS.
Yeah.
When he got found for it, he's a scum of the earth. People that were his friends were disowning him.
Do you remember, I mentioned this as well, we had a similar conversation, and I said that this whole kind of culture will shift depending on someone's public perception. How much this person's persecuted will depend on how much the public like him. If the public love this person, it will slide. But if they don't necessarily like this person, then he's the worst.
He's the worst. Yeah.
So it shifts. And I remember saying that we need to keep the same energy for everyone. Yeah. No one should be above certain things just because you like them. I think I hate it. I really hate it when people wanna move the goalposts and bend the rules depending on who it is.
That's what happens when
if someone does something wrong, they need to be held accountable, regardless of who it is.
And do you know? So people need to be held accountable, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I can't remember the context or the conversation we had specifically, but do you remember there was a time where I think I was the only one who had the opinion, but where I was basically saying, no matter what the crime is, yes, I remember what it was when we were talking about accusing people online of rape and stuff like that, or like assault, and I said I don't care, keep it off the internet. Remember, and if I remember correctly, I don't think. Do you remember? And I don't think people necessarily agreed with me in the room. And the reason I was basically saying it is, at the time anyway, was because even if there's a chance that this person is innocent, or maybe it wasn't in a group chat. Maybe it was in a group chat. It wasn't in the podcast. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't on the podcast. It wasn't on the podcast. I think keep it off the internet. You shouldn't. No one should be allowed to accuse people on the internet, because
that stain's gonna stay with it.
Because the false accusation can do a lot more damage.
Yeah.
And even if your accusation is correct, no. Yes, your accusation could be correct, and yes, you might not be able to do something. The law might not be able to help you, but at least the public can, shun this person, and you can get your justice that way. Firstly, I don't believe that that's a proper type of justice. I think that's a false justice. Yeah. And secondly, I think that once you give power, if you start giving credence to the fact that the internet, social media, the court of public perception can have power over real life, then it's a dangerous path to walk on. And yes, and there's people that are going to be very much mistreated by the law system, and they're not going to be able to get convictions and stuff like that for bad things that happen. And yes, that is an issue, and I don't doubt that that's an issue. However, you taking it to the internet on your individual case, yes, it might give some credence to, it might make you feel better, give credence, give the person's be shunned, etc., etc., etc. But you're allowing a system where people can start saying things on the internet, and people can actually suffer based on accusations with no formal, evidence, proper legal proceeding. Doesn't it? Yeah, you might not even agree with British law, but it could be Sharia law, it could be Chinese law, it could whatever law it is. There's a reason that there's a legal judiciary system in place, because remember, you can't just have someone for an accusation and people decide, because it's going to be based on whether they like you or not. So therefore, that person who's not liked for whatever reason, people can just throw mud and they can just finish you. Yeah. So I think that that's an issue. And bringing it back to this point anyway, is that the other reason why I don't think that you should give too much credence to the online type of thing is because when you have issues like this, where basically people's, like the Bill Cosby thing or the Ronaldo thing, or this footballer who's just been accused, is that people, once they start having an opinion on something, you're going to get people saying keep the same energy, for example. Yeah. But I don't believe anyone should have any energy. I think you should just leave it off, because it's not a business.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. But you're forgetting that I don't agree with that in the case where people have supporters. If they have supporters, you're still going to have people supporting their crafts, putting money in their pocket.
To be honest, I think that's a much more viable solution, and I hear that a lot more. I think people talk too much on the internet anyway.
Exactly.
Are you talking about not putting
people talk so much that because they now spoke about this, they will be forced to speak about this when they don't care. At the end of the day, people talk about things because when people make opinions on Twitter and internet, on podcasts, it's because it's what's
I'm not talking
relevant.
I'm talking about not publicizing, for example, this. So you said mention Bill Cosby, so he's going to court for sexual offences. You're talking about not publicising it.
No, I'm not saying not publicising it. I'm
just
saying
not talking about it on the internet, not making it a conversation on the internet.
It shouldn't be when people that are people accusations that are not proven either way should not be discussed. It should not be discussed in
I definitely agree with
because that. What firstly, we don't know. You weren't there, and there's no benefit in it. And when people start, that's the thing. It's people, innit? Once people are seen to do one thing, for example, you might say keep the same energy. When people start being seen to do one thing,
but just quickly,
they feel pressure.
The only reason I'm saying,
okay, cool. Yeah. When people are, but that's the way the internet works. When people say, you've said something, it's on record now, so now you have to say something else. Yeah. This case, for example, may have been sensitive to you for whatever reason, but because of public pressure, people are going to start being drawn out 100. To make public statements and be saying things about 100. Situations that they have no. Do you get what I mean?
Bro, this makes me think. And I had a conversation about a couple of brothers about this about a couple of weeks ago, where it's like you're now pressured to make statements about things that have nothing to do with you.
Yeah. That whole where is Ja Rule?
When George Floyd was murdered back in America, and everyone was talking about BLM. I remember Ashley Waters from Top Boy. He now had to. He came out and he made a video, and was basically saying, because so George Floyd is murdered. People on the internet are now, for whatever reason, asking Ashley Waters and getting onto him and saying, "Why aren't you saying anything?" Something that has absolutely nothing to do with him. Something that happened in the country he doesn't even live in.
Did he say anything?
He had to. No. Not that he had to, but he now made the video and he was very, very emotional talking about why he hasn't said anything. He didn't necessarily make a video defending himself. He was just saying, this is the reason I haven't spoken, and he was very, very emotional about it. But it's like, what's wrong with people? Why are you so concerned with the opinion of someone that has nothing to do with the situation that a man is not having to make a video? It doesn't make sense. This whole culture of people having to defend themselves before they've even been proven guilty. So when
I think that comes with social
I think
media.
he also had to come out and make a statement when someone that was Noel Clark had allegations come out against him.
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
He now had to come out and make a statement defending himself, saying that he had no knowledge of it. Why? Why should he have to defend himself?
And shunning and basically having
why should he have to defend himself? Something he's got nothing to do with.
He has to shun.
Just because he might have been a co-star of this person doesn't mean that he's guilty by association. That we're now in this era that they have to prove their innocence, otherwise they'll be judged as guilty. It doesn't make sense.
Same thing with that. What's that rapper that wears red? The drill one.
The one that they're saying the molested or talking to underage girls.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Same thing with him. Same thing. Again, it's all social media. Anyone that's close to you, people. And another thing we're forgetting is social media. People on social media, they have a memory like a fish. Something will happen. It's big in a moment. 3 months down the line, everyone's forgotten about it.
Yeah, everyone's forgotten about it.
How many people have gotten away with so much crap?
This is why
so much crap.
Cancel culture is not real. It's not real. And this is another reason why if I'm ever in that sort of position, there's no way, no how you're gonna pressure me into making a statement, because all I have to do is ride it out.
The guy that I
just have to
even
ride it out.
mentioned,
In 6 months, you'll forget about all of this, and I put another banger. You will listen to it.
100%. The guy that I just mentioned, he's still doing stuff.
It's not real. It's not real.
For me, at the end of the day, like I hear it, innit? Especially because I remember people passionately say, at the end of the day, people need to be held accountable, isn't it?
Yeah.
But my issue is, and this is, I guess, yes, it was definitely the future. And the point I was making was, people need to be held accountable, yeah. So there's a need for justice in this thing, innit?
Okay.
And I think I probably did a Mythbuster Monday about it. There's this concept of justice that exists in people, and I believe it comes from a lack of, belief in a higher justice and an ultimate justice.
Yes.
That means people clamour for some sort of resolution,
social justice,
that's always fake resolution. Fake resolution that makes people feel better, people feel like they've done something. Like, for example, and taking it back to that example, when we're talking about people that, for example, want to accuse somebody of, for example, sexual assault. I might have to put a trigger warning in the beginning of this, but yeah, you want to accuse somebody of sexual assault, for example, and it comes on, and they decide that they want to do it online, and that gives some sort of recompense. To me, I think, and with all due respect to these people, I think it's almost like you're kind of fooling yourself if you think that you've really this person's really got because Twitter doesn't like him anymore. Okay, because it's not real.
Yeah,
See,
it's not real.
If this person, and fair enough, you might not be able to get that conviction. I think I don't know if I should say this, but I think you're better off calling man them to come and fist them up. That to me, that's more, because at least that's real. Do you know what I mean? That to me, that's more real, because Twitter doesn't like him.
Yeah.
Imagine the same man that could be, for example, the situation Ashley Waters and man could do a statement and call you the next after he's done the statement, and you'd be laughing about the statement you made. But everybody feels better. Everybody's like, okay, at least Ashley what
exactly.
It's not real.
It's not real. It's social justice.
Yeah,
but
people literally. People care more.
Yeah.
A lot of people care more, and obviously because of, the age of media, the age of so many media opportunities.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's music, there's film, there's TV, there's comedy. That fact that people see their value in, or a lot of people's value is based on public perception. But what people forget is not everybody. So yes, rapper A, actor B, his stock or his currency might be heavily weighted based on public position. Yes, but not Johnny from Eltham. People think that the streets don't like Johnny from Eltham, so I'm going to call him out on the internet and it's going to affect him.
Yeah.
Okay, he hasn't got sacked from his job. His mum still loves him. His daughter
paid.
still loves him.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, he hasn't really he just can't go on the app for 3 months until it. But you feel better. No, you've told yourself you feel better. And we're giving too much power to this public perception.
At the end of the day, all of this stuff is nonsense. It's all a waste of time. It's all getting involved in people's affairs. It's all a fitna.
It's a waste of and we'll do it. We things come in the thing in the group chats or whatever, and people talk about it. But my thing is, I make a point of I tend to trivialize things
100.
where I can.
Yeah.
Obviously with respect.
Within reason, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's like it's not real. What we are saying in group chat X has no bearing on anything in this world and in the next.
Yeah.
So it's a waste.
I think and I think that is a good point, and it's something that was a realization I think I came to a while ago, and it almost it brings you some sort of peace as well. And if people had that within them, then we wouldn't be in this age of social justice. That kind of idea of a higher justice, that regardless of what you do in this life, you could be the worst of the worst of the worst and never get convicted. Everyone will get their justice.
Everyone will get their justice.
Everyone will get their justice.
God's justice
and
is real justice.
some people,
God's justice,
some people will not get their justice in this world. Some people really
you have to
will.
accept it.
And you have to accept it. There's nothing you can
can't
do.
let it burn you, but people will burn.
You have to,
People
And that's why now in this era of social justice, people will do the worst of the worst of the worst things, and they will not get their justice in this life.
So we're Muslims, innit? We know that Allah is just, and we have peace and tranquility in that. At the end of the day, that should be enough for us.
But when you don't have that, you'll find you
don't have that,
you will need to find it in this earth.
Yeah.
And you'll kill yourself trying to. Anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Ibs, why do you hate black women? That's what you said before, wasn't it? You hate black businesses, black women. You just hate it. Anyway, go on.
He's
I'm
joking, by the way. I didn't
I'm
say
joking. Colorism, go on.
What was I saying? Oh, we're getting into that.
By the way, have you got your?
Yeah.
How long we got? Right, when's Sunday?
Might as well leave that one then. Might as well leave it.
Should do the back, so then
20,
we'll see what comes off that,
Yeah.
and then we'll just wrap up. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right.
Ibs is gonna tell you why he hates you next week. So.
Yeah. The bites of Jollof this week is just gonna be about istikhara, which is, if anyone doesn't know what istikhara is, it's basically seeking guidance and consultation from Allah when you're about to embark on if you're maybe going to make a decision about something and you're unaware whether that decision is good or bad. So you seek guidance from Allah. The evidence for this is Jabir radiallahu anhu reported Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to teach us that istikhara, which is seeking guidance from Allah in all matters, as we should teach us in all matters as he would teach us a surah of the Quran. He used to say, when one of you contemplates entering upon an enterprise, let him perform 2 rakat of optional prayer other than fard prayers, and then supplicate. So then there's a whole dua that you have to read, and I'll put that in the link in the description. Rather than reading it all out now. But basically there is some. So for example, the kind of reasons you might undertake istikhara to seek guidance from Allah is maybe, for example, you have a job interview and you don't know whether this job is good or bad for you, or maybe
you have two job offers.
Yeah, something like that. Or maybe you're speaking to someone with the intent of marrying them and you're not sure whether this person is the right partner for you, so you seek guidance from Allah. And there are certain, I don't want to say rulings, but again, like I said, there's reasons why you would undertake istikhara. So I think one of the things that it says is so it says, however, it is imperative only in cases where one is ignorant of good or evil. So again, like it says, you don't know whether which decision you make is going to bring about good or evil. So you're completely ignorant. That's why you seek Allah's guidance for it. But you can't now go and make istikhara for...
Should I go to the pub?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a part of that here. So similarly, commands and prohibitions of the Sharia and are categorical. Nobody is allowed to seek further guidance by performing istikhara prayer. And then it also says, with regard to obligatory and indisputable rules, practice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and commendable deeds, no istikhara is allowed. So wherever there's already
rulings and
clear ruling, you can't now go and seek further guidance. So for example, maybe you want to do something.
Should I rob this bank?
Yeah. You can't now go and seek guidance from Allah. Maybe this will bring around good or evil for me. If there's already a clear ruling on it, no istikhara is allowed. So, this is, and it goes back to the verse on certified side. It's only Allah that we turn to for guidance. We don't turn to anybody else for guidance. So, I think what we all need to try and do is, and it's more of a reminder that we need to try and do this first and foremost. Because I guess some people's process might be, you might ask your friends or your family for advice on a topic, and then maybe when you don't have the answer, then you turn to Allah. It should be the other way around. You seek guidance from Allah first and foremost. Before you even start talking to other people about it, you seek guidance, and then maybe you can ask me for advice. There's nothing wrong with asking friends and family for advice, but we need to be clear that it's only Allah that we seek guidance from. So like I said, I'll post the dua itself and the meaning in the description. So it's something, I guess, that it's something that everybody should be practicing regularly. I guess we all get to points in our life where we have decisions to make, and we're always going to be ignorant because Allah is the best of planners. So having that in mind and knowing that there's always that extra helping hand, it should be something from something that brings us peace and solace as well. So anything you want to add?
No, Jazakallah, man. I think that was good. That was a good reminder, personally. Yeah, because I feel like it's something that it's easy. You can hear something like this and get in the practice of doing it, and then life will happen, or life becomes a bit, samey. Yeah, and then something else crops up, and it might not be the first thing you think of doing. I don't know. It's obviously this is only me speaking about myself. Yeah, something that can fall out of the brain and. Barakallah fi. Go on.
It's kind of like during Ramadan, you kind of like get into the practice of making like prayers and stuff like for advice and making du'as for advice. So it's one of those things which when you come out of Ramadan, you can easily slip back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, barakallah fi, man. I think I've definitely benefited from that. Yeah. If anybody has, at least me.
Anything wrong that I said for myself and the shaitan, anything I said is correct from Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah.
Anything else to add before we go?
No. I wanna justify my statement quickly. Colorism started. I remember when I was in primary school, and girls only wanted to talk to the light skinned boys, and the darker skinned boys weren't the cream of the crop, innit? And the man them never complained. We dealt with it. Dealt with it as it came.
I complain still.
The man them never complained. We dealt with it as it came, and now the tables have turned.
It's true, to be honest. You don't see
women's. I'm telling you, women started colorism.
More of this next week.
You don't see brothers dicing lighter skinned brothers in acid.
More of
Facts.
this. Whoa,
Facts.
It happens a lot.
And more of this next week.
Oh, you want a definition? Is a definition, I guess.
Colorism.
We're not getting into it. I guess colorism is the argument that men prefer lighter skinned women to darker skinned women.
Isn't that what you said?
Colorism is.
Colorism is just basically being treated differently due to the lightness of your skin, basically. That's why you get a lot of bleaching in West Africa.
I'm not saying that colorism isn't real. I'm just saying that women started it, and now that the tables have turned, you want to start crucifying men for it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying what goes around comes around. That's probably the wrong thing to say.
Right. Allah's justice.
But, boy, is what it is, man.
Alright, cool. More of that next week.
I feel like I'm digging myself enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
I really don't like what I've just said. You have to cut that.
I was thinking, right, how am I going to edit this to make it look bad? I was like, I don't have to do anything, bro. He did it himself. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I guess.
Safe. Maybe Ibs will be here next week.
I've dug myself. I really dug myself with that one. My point.
I'm about to send you this back.
I don't know. My point is just that it's that women started it. I'm not saying it's wrong, and I'm not saying I don't sympathise with dark skinned women. I'm just saying women started it. That's my point. That is my point, and that's my point in there. Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
Are you sure?
I'm done.
Oh yeah, you are done, boy. He is done. Socials, follow them. Comments, leave them. I'm tired of begging you. Yeah, that's it, man. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a good week.
Should we really just do the socials in case this isn't anyone's first episode? Yeah, we have them. We put them on Instagram.
Do we have a graph?
Yeah, we have them.
Do you have a graph?
Kind of.
Video.
Yeah, maybe we should. That's a good idea. I'll send it to you. Yeah,
The video.
let me airdrop it. I'll airdrop it tonight.
No,
But yeah,
if it's small, I can just if it's small, innit? You know you can't. Like, you know, like a banner.
Logo, like
yeah,
Instagram.
yeah.
Okay,
So
do you know
just,
is, if make the logo, make it, and I'll pay it at the beginning of the episode,
cool.
and we won't have to.
yeah,
read
just
it.
in case it's anyone's first episode, Twitter is JJ_pod, YouTube and Instagram are Jollof after Jummah. No one uses the Gmail, so whatever. But DM us, comment, whole 9 yards to everything. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.